What's up, guys? It's Eric from Rare Candy, and today we're back with another deck profile. And the goal of this one is to basically make whoever you're playing hate their entire existence. That's what we're kind of going for with this one. And I think it does a decent job of that. But if you didn't see the title, it's a new deck from Breakpoint, Trevenant BREAK. Be sure to watch our battle video too to see it in action. But yeah, Trevenant's been around for a long time now. It's had decent levels of success here and there, but now we have a new break evolution for it, which kind of takes the deck to the next level, kind of, and basically makes the entire deck around Trevenant in this case. So, since we are playing Trevenant, we obviously are playing for Phantump, since Trevenant is our main attacker. And if you notice, we're actually playing the new Phantump, and this is one of the things that makes this deck so good. I mean, it'd probably still be good if this Phantump wasn't printed, but this thing is so good because now, even if, for example, you miss the turn 1 Wally, all you need is an energy attachment to get the turn 1 item lock. So the new Phantump, 50 hit points, is 10 less than the old Phantump, which isn't that cool, but it does have the attack Ascension for Colorless. Search your deck for basically Trevenant and just straight up evolve into it. So let's say you go second and you whiff Wally, you still can evolve into Trevenant on the first turn and basically give your opponent just one turn of items the entire game. So it just huge consistency booster for Trevenant. Love this card. And so like I said, Trevenant is the main attacker. So we're playing 4 Trevenants. And these are the ones from XY. One that has the Forest Curse ability. Basically, when Trevenant's your active Pokemon, your opponent can't play any item cards. So, I mean, item lock has been huge for, anytime there's been a decent item lock card, it's seen success. Seismitoad's been huge and standard and expanded over the years now. And that was an attack. You had to actually attack. Vileplume back in the day, huge, saw tons of success. So, item lock is definitely strong. And I know some people are kind of tempted to play maybe one of the new Trevenant that have come out, but honestly, I kind of just prefer to play 4 of the item lock one just for maximum consistency. And for the attack on Trevenant, it's not the greatest in the world, but since we're kind of trying to tank with Trevenant, it's not the worst thing. You can usually get off a couple of these Tree Slam attacks before it gets knocked out. So Tree Slam for a Psychic and DCE does 60 and spreads 20 to your opponent's 2 of your opponent's bench Pokemon. So not the greatest attack, but ideally, since they can't play items, they've been slowed down a lot, and it kind of gives you the opportunity to do a couple of these attacks before a Trevenant goes down. But now, since Breakpoint is out, we have the Trevenant BREAK, the new Break evolution. So we're playing 3 of these, and it buffs Trevenant's hit points up to 160 and gives him a new attack, which actually is pretty handy. It's Silent Fear for a Psychic and DCE, or just a Psychic if you're playing Dimension Valley. It puts 3 damage counters on each of your opponent's Pokemon. So again, we're doing some more spread damage here. Now a solid attack, especially because you can do, like I say, you can play Dimension Valley and only have to do this attack for a single Psychic. So it's a good card. It buffs your non-EX wall up to 160 hit points. So ideally, they're going to be 2-shotting this thing and only getting 1 prize. So it's a good tank, and it slows down your opponent. But you might be thinking, well, this is a lot of spread, and it's really hard to get knockouts with that. How are you going to handle that? We're playing 1 Espeon EX. It's another new card from the new set. And Espeon's in here really just to help us clean up games. Especially if you go against something like Raichu Bats, for example. You're not really taking one-hit knockouts, but you're spreading a lot of damage on the field. So late game, let's say you have a lot of damage on the field, you can come play Espeon EX. If you have Dimension Valley, you can actually attack for free as well. So you can really come out of nowhere this thing. And use his first attack, Miraculous Shine, and it de-evolves all of your opponent's Pokemon. Takes the highest stage, puts it back in their hand. So ideally against a bunch of non-EX or even Mega decks, you can spread a lot of damage through the bulk of the game and use Espeon to de-evolve their Pokemon to knock them out. So this can really come out of nowhere and steal games for you. And like I said, especially against non-EX decks like Vespiquen, Greninja, Garchomp, Raichu, and like I said, even Mega decks, you can de-evolve things like Mega Manectric or Mega Rayquaza. But then we're also running a 1/1 Raichu line. If you notice, Trevenant is weak to Dark, and Yveltal is, kind of a good card in case y'all been out of the loop. Yveltal is a really good card. And things like Yveltal, Gallade, Zoroark that I've been seeing play, and even now you're going to see the new Darkrai I see play. There's a good chance you're going to run into Dark Pokemon, and you need really a way to deal with that. So I'm opting for a 1/1 Raichu since I already run DC in the deck. You can slam down a Raichu and hopefully get like a quick knockout on an Yveltal. Or even, you can even throw down Raichu and maybe get a knockout or two on some Shaymins. So I like it. It's a free retreater, level ball searchable, and it hits Yveltal for weakness, which is, like I said, going to be your biggest challenge in this deck. But there's also a lot of different things you can pair with this Trevenant. Maybe we can do a video in the future that details different techs and stuff like that. But so this is it for all of our attackers. Then just to round out the Pokemon line, we run 2 Shaymin EX. I mean, Shaymin's good. Setup, you bench Shaymin, draw until you have 6. It's pretty clear why Shaymin's good. It's been covered in numerous other videos on YouTube, so I don't feel the need to go into that any further. Well, actually, I take that back. You can actually do a couple key plays too with Shaymin. Like if you're forced to start with them, you can Wally into Trevenant and Sky Return to promote Trevenant. So has a little bit of synergy with Trevenant's ability. So anyway, so on to the supporter cards. Playing 4 Sycamore. Like I've said in previous videos, best draw supporter in the game. You really do need to get a lot down on turn 1. Ideally, you want at least 2 Phantumps just because it can be knocked out pretty easily. You want to hit an energy, float stones. There's just a bunch you want to hit. And like I said, Sycamore's the best draw supporter in the game. It's just the best. That's really it. So then we're also playing a split between 1 Birch and 1 Judge. You could debatably even go up to 2 Judge since this is kind of a disruption deck. But I opt for the split just to give myself more flexibility in the later turns of the game. But yeah, so Judge is really powerful in this deck. I like this card a lot just because you can item lock them on turn 1 and potentially judge them on your next turn. So ideally their deck is super thick starting on turn 2 since they really can't play a lot down. You can judge them and hopefully just make them have a hand full of items. So really good card. Like I said, I would debatably even change this Birch to another Judge too. So then we're also going to play 2 Wally. This is kind of like the first of our utility-based supporters here. Turn 1 item lock is just too good. Like it just really is. So I'm playing 2 Wally just in case 1 is prized. And I also play Battle Compressor in this list, so I can do things like Compressor 1 Wally away, just in case I want to use Versus Seeker, and keep 1 in the deck just to draw into maybe for later turns. So you can even do some things like you can maybe turn sorry, I'm getting tongue-tied. Maybe on turn 2, you can manually evolve into a Trevenant, and then you can Wally into the break out of nowhere too. So Wally's just a super good card. Like I said, lots of synergy with Trevenant. They're playing 2 Lysander. Kind of a standard for most decks in the format. Just get to bring up bench Pokemon, hopefully get some knockouts. Especially if they play like a heavy retreater and they're item locked and they can't play things like Floatstone, you can actually do some cool stuff where you can Lysander maybe, try to think, maybe like Octillery or Garbodor, or maybe like one of those heavy retreating support Pokemon, and you can just spread with Trevenant's attacks while this big Pokemon is stranded active with no way to get out of the active spot. So Lysander, good card. 2 copies seems good. And then we're just going to play 4 copies of Versus Seeker just for optimal consistency, just to be able to reuse all of our supporters throughout the game. So that's it for all the supporter related cards. And onto the items, we're playing 4 Ultra Ball, best search card in the game for Pokemon right now. again, just for optimal consistency. We need it in the early games to hit Shaymin. We need it in later turns to hit Trevenant BREAK and Espeon. So yeah, 4 Ultra Ball seems good. And then we're also going to play 2 Level Ball. We play a lot of under 90 hit point Pokemon, like 4 Phantumps, the entire Raichu line. So I like the Level Ball just to help us swarm those Trevenants a lot easier. 4 Trainer's Mail. Another really good card just to help with consistency. Especially if you don't open Wally, you can hopefully maybe Trainer's Mail into the Wally, or maybe an out to a Compressor versus Sekker combo. So yeah, 4 Trainer's Mail, super good. I always like to play 4 of these in a deck if there's the space. So next we're going to play 2 Floatstone. If you notice, Trevenant does have a 3 retreat cost, so Floatstone I do think is necessary, especially if one of your Trevenants gets a bit damaged. You can just attach Floatstone and retreat to hopefully an undamaged one that's on your bench and keep attacking. So 2 seems good. So then we're also playing 1 Sacred Ash. Again, we're trying to hopefully keep them item locked every turn of the game, and we will probably have to shuffle back in some Trevenants at some point. Especially also if we have to discard maybe like part of the Raichu line early on, maybe with like a Sycamore or something. I think it's good to play some sort of recovery card. Some people have opted for Super Rod, so they have the flexibility of getting back energies, but me personally, I would prefer just getting back more Pokemon, since I haven't run into an issue of running out of energy in a game yet. So then we're also going to play 1 Battle Compressor. Again, we're playing 4 versus Seeker, so anytime I play any count of Battle Compressor, I love having 4 versus Seeker, just because, especially if you open versus Seeker and nothing, you can potentially Battle Compressor, choose the supporter you want in your discard, and use that. And it's just really good. You can thin out stuff you don't need in the later turns. Like I have a couple of tech cards in here. Like for example, if Raichu's kind of a dead card in a matchup, you can just Battle Compressor away the Raichu line and maybe like a supporter. So I like the 1 copy Battle Compressor. You could potentially cut this for something else if you really want to. But I like it's just a consistency booster. And finally, we have our last item card, and this is, I think, kind of the MVP of this deck, and that's going to be Startling Meaphone. This has kind of been a card that's really seen a heavy decrease in play, for various reasons. But this card is so good in Trevenant, I think, because especially if you go against a Mega deck, and you'll even see it in the battle video, but generally Mega players these days, they tend to just throw down their Spirit Links immediately, whereas before in the previous format, I think people tended to hold on to their Spirit Links until they were ready to evolve, just in case they got end or something. But in this format, people tend to just throw them down without as much thinking, I feel like. And also, too, since you're item locking them, if they're playing something like Entei where they have a lot of tools on the board, you can megaphone them, and since your Trevenant is item locking them, they can't put any more back on for the entire game. So I think it has a lot of synergy with Trevenant. Really good card. To be honest, it kind of won me the matches against me and Marcus's game, in case you haven't seen that yet. So I love this card, especially since Garb is coming back into the format in Standard. Yeah, I think this is really good. And so then onto our stadium cards, we're playing 3 Dimension Valley, kind of a standard, just because it can reduce Trevenant's attack cost, so it's kind of a natural inclusion in the deck. But instead of a 4th one, I'm opting to run 1 Faded Town to deal with Megas. So for those who don't know, Faded Town places 2 damage counters on Megas in between every turn. Just because Trevenant's damage output really isn't that good. Like, it's pretty low, so you're relying on things like Espeon to help you kind of steal knockouts in the late portions of the game. But against Megas, they just have so much hit points that it can be kind of hard to deal with them, especially something like Manectric too, which can one-shot your Trevenants. I think this is kind of a good tech if you think Megas are going to be seeing play. If not, if you don't think any Megas are going to be in your meta, probably just a 4th Dimension Valley is fine though. But as of right now, I kind of like the Faded Town. And that's it for all of the trainer cards. For our energy, we're just going to run 4 DCE and also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 psychics. So Trevenant attacks for DCEs and psychics, and also Raichu and Shaymin attack with DCEs. So I felt like it's kind of good to run these. If you're not running Raichu, you could maybe debatably change it to just mystery energies, just to give your Trevenants a little bit more flexibility in case something happens to your float stones. But I kind of like the DCEs. It gives you options for a couple cute plays with Shaymin. And like I said, we're running Raichu anyway, so we kind of want to be able to just attach a DCE and start attacking. But yeah, guys, I mean, that's pretty much it for the profile. I actually think this is a pretty strong deck. Turn 1 item lock is just super good. We've seen that with the Vespiquen Vileplume deck that's been having some success too. So I really like this. If there's a lot of Yveltal in your area, it may potentially not be the best play, but I think you can tech out this list to maybe potentially handle the matchup, but it's definitely not something you want to play against. But so like I said, I think it's kind of meta dependent, but I don't know, it seems really good. I feel like a lot of decks are super item focused these days and aren't prepared to deal with item lock. You know, a couple decks run Hex Maniac here and there, but overall, I feel like Turn 1 item lock is definitely super good, and I really like this. I don't know if this is like the definitive list or not, but it seems like a good deck. But yeah, guys, that's it. Feel free to let me know in the comments what you think about it. If there's anything you would change, I would love to hear it. I'm always down to try out new ideas that you guys submit. But yeah, that's it. Feel free to like and subscribe, and we'll see you for the next one, okay?